Changing Lanes, the official podcast of BMW.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Changing Lanes, the official podcast of BMW. My name is Sarah. I'm a travel junkie, carpool karaoke fan, and addicted to driving with the top down.
And my name is Jonathan, tech geek, fun fact fan, and speed freak with cars and the internet.
Today on the podcast, we're talking about something that we've all unfortunately experienced at one point or another, and that is being tired behind the wheel.
It's something that we don't like to think about, let alone talk about, but this is important because at the end of the day, your safety and everyone else's safety on the road should be your first priority.
Exactly. So we've packed today's episode with some fun tips and tricks on what really helps to keep you awake and alert when you're behind the wheel. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Okie dokie. So let's start off with some fun facts. But this fact is anything but fun. Sorry to be a Debbie Downer. So according to a study published in the British journal Occupational and Environmental Medicine, researchers in Australia and New Zealand found that drowsy driving has some of the same effects as drunk driving.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, it's pretty distressing. Now, they found that people who drive after being awake for 17 to 19 hours, they performed worse than those with a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. Now, just so we understand what that means, 0.05% is the legal limit for drunk driving in most Western European countries, though it is a little bit higher in most U.S. states at 0.1% or 0.08%.
Wow, that's really shocking.
Yeah, I was shocked as well when I found out. So fatigued drivers may be plagued by so-called micro-sleep. Now, that's when a driver nods off for just a few seconds. Sarah, I must admit, I've nodded off for a second before when I was driving. I'm not proud of it, but it's happened to me. And this is super dangerous, guys. Why? Well, because if you nod off for 5 seconds and you're driving at 55 miles per hour, which is approximately 90 kilometers per hour, that means you've traveled around 135 yards or 120 meters down the road when you were fast asleep. This is more than enough time to cause a crash.
Oh my God, this is really scary. So you should spot the warning signs of tiredness, like frequent yawning, blinking, maybe a heavy eyelid feeling or irritated eyes. And when these symptoms occur, you've got to prevent that nap of danger. So here are our 8 tips on how to do just that. So tip number 1 is kind of obvious, which is get enough sleep. The only true remedy for fatigue and drowsiness is sleep. Above all, the key thing for long-distance driving is to be well-rested. So don't embark on a long journey after a wild night out or being kept up all night by a crying baby or a screaming match with your partner. You definitely need a good night's sleep before you start a long journey.
Makes sense, right? Tip number 2 is power naps. So if you're on a longer trip, you should take a cat nap at least every 4 hours. Now, the benefits of napping are clear, but these power naps, they shouldn't be longer than 20 minutes. Why? Because otherwise your body may head into deep sleep. So here's the trick. Pull on over to the side of the road in a safe area, set your alarm for 20 minutes max, and take your power nap. That's doctor's orders.
All right, now we've got tip number 3, which is avoid your natural low points. So adjust your driving times or your journey to avoid your body's biological low points. Now, most people's low points are generally between 2 o'clock in the morning and 5 a.m. and about 1 in the afternoon and 3 p.m. So you may be excited to beat the morning rush hour traffic, so you get on the road super early, but I'm telling you, it's just not worth it. Do not get on the road before 5 a.m. unless you absolutely have to. It's not a good way to prevent the dangers of drowsy driving.
Oh, okay. Wow. So I need to remember this one myself, Sarah. If I want to beat the traffic on a long journey, don't start driving until 5 a.m. All right. Got it. Moving on to tip number 4, which is take regular breaks. One of the most important long-distance driving tips, and one of the easiest, is to take regular breaks. We've all done this before. You park up, you relax, you leave your vehicle, you take a short walk in the fresh air, not only giving you a chance to stretch your limbs, but this also boosts the supply of oxygen into your bloodstream, which increases your ability to concentrate.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I do this a lot when stopping at a gas station. It's not just to fill up the tank, but, you can also go to the bathroom, wash your face maybe with some cold water. You can take a walk around the picnic area if there is one and have something to drink. And, of course, maybe get some food. And that is our next tip, tip number 5, which is food. So the right food also affects your condition, of course. So don't drive hungry or with too full of a stomach. Both will inhibit your performance. The best thing to do is to eat light snacks for driving, such as vegetables, which provide an energy boost while at the same time obviously are a healthy choice. It's best not to consume really heavy food during your journey because this will only weigh you down and induce drowsiness.
Exactly. So when you're at the rest stop, leave the 3-day-old spaghetti bolognese right where
Oh,
it is.
yuck.
Gross.
Gross.
And opt for a piece of fruit or a salad. And of course, fluids. Which brings us to tip number 6, fluids. Now, water is super important for us to live. We all know that. So when you're at the gas station, get that bottle of water. Instead of opting for a coffee or, my goodness, alcohol, do not touch that when you're driving. Opt for water. It's the best choice. So keep your water intake high on long drives, which will keep you hydrated and feeling healthy.
Definitely. All right, moving on to tip number 7, which is the right amount of distractions. Now, it can be helpful to have other things to do on a long car ride, just not so much that they keep you from concentrating on the road. For example, an exciting podcast.
Just like this one.
Yes, listening to the Changing Lanes podcast can keep you mentally fresh during a long drive on the open road. Even better is a conversation partner, someone to entertain you and notice when you're getting tired. In an ideal scenario, your driving partner can then take over at the wheel and get you both to your destination safe and sound.
Now, Sarah, for someone who loves carpool karaoke, this sounds like a perfect fit.
Oh, yeah. Just make sure the singing along doesn't turn into a fully choreographed dance routine in the car while eating snacks and drinking water, because that would be too many distractions.
Exactly. And last but not least, tip number 8, which is medication and medical conditions. So be careful when driving after taking certain medications. And we've all heard it before. Side effects may include drowsiness. And medication can also diminish attention, which could result in drowsy driving or even microsleep.
Yikes, not good.
Sleeping pills, psychoactive drugs, and even allergy medications can have this effect. So if you're unsure about a medicine's effects, you should contact your doctor or pharmacist way before you get behind the wheel. And the same applies if you suffer from medical conditions like chronic fatigue or a sleep disorder.
This is all very good advice. So, those are our 8 tips on how to stay awake during a long road trip. But hey, Jonathan, I have to admit, I have also had moments when I felt a little fatigued behind the wheel.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this with us, Sarah. I think we all have felt that one time or another.
And I have a feeling that our podcast listeners have also felt that as well. Who knows? Maybe they're listening right now while driving down the open road with hours of traveling ahead of them. Now, these were all great tips that we can all plan for and prepare for. But when you are behind the wheel and you feel the fatigue settling in, there's got to be something we can do, at least in the short term, that'll at least temporarily fix our drowsy feeling, at least until we can pull the car over safely and take a power nap, for example.
Exactly. And yes, there is, Sarah. These are our 5 drowsy driving short-term fixes.
All right, here we go. So short-term fix number 1 is candy. Candy will give you a quick boost of energy, but be aware that your blood sugar level will then drop just as quickly and the tiredness will return. So this is just a short-term fix and definitely not the best way to maintain your safety when driving long distances.
Exactly. Now, short-term fix number 2 is energy drinks and coffee. Now, after the initial lift from the caffeine and other similar substances, the fatigue soon comes back in. So this is a short-term fix. And I must admit, I pull over after, driving a couple of hours. Oh, let me get another coffee that's going to push me for another couple of hours. But actually, it's a short-term fix.
Yeah, I totally get a crash after drinking coffee. Just like an hour or two later, I just feel totally tired.
Exactly.
So that is not a good long-term solution for me either. Okay, short-term fix number 3 is airing out. So briefly opening the windows will give you an extra burst of oxygen and perhaps a shock to the system that'll provide a short blast of alertness. But of course, this trick also wears off quickly, and therefore it also goes in the short-term fixes folder.
Yes. Short-term fix number 4 is chewing gum. Now, it stimulates the circulation of blood in the brain and it reduces the symptoms of sleep deprivation, but only temporarily. It's no cure for drowsy driving over prolonged periods.
And short-term fix number 5 is loud music. But of course, it only helps briefly. And what's more, when you're tired, you're already less receptive to what's going on around you, something that is not improved by a music system on full blast. So this, in turn, is bad for traffic safety.
So this is when your carpool karaoke needs to come to an end, right, Sarah?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Remember, safety first.
Exactly. Now, Sarah, driver assistance systems can also help you with drowsy driving. Typical symptoms of fatigue include careless driving and leaving your lane. And with the steering and lane control assistant, it sounds an alarm if you perform unnatural steering wheel movements. And if your car is beeping a lot, signaling that you're leaving your lane unknowingly because you're struggling with tiredness at the wheel, then maybe you should take a break.
Well, Jonathan, you are going to get a kick out of this. The BMW Intelligent Personal Assistant also works to help you combat tiredness. All you have to do is say, "Hey, BMW, I'm tired," and your vehicle will launch the reinvigoration program.
Wait, what? That's super cool. All right, so here we go. Hey, BMW, I'm tired. So what happens next?
Well, the BMW Intelligent Personal Assistant will combat your fatigue via temperature adjustment, lighting effects, and music. In fact, after a few hours of uninterrupted driving, the car will actually tell you to take a break. And if you need a bed, the navigation system supported by the BMW Concierge Service will actually guide you to the nearest hotel.
Whoa. All right. So talk about being taken care of more than ever before.
Exactly.
And there you have it, folks. How to stay awake while driving.
The long-term and short-term tricks to keep you and everyone else safe on the road. I, for one, am a big fan of self-care, and that means treating myself to a good night's sleep.
Nothing better than waking up refreshed in the morning, ready to face the day.
Or face the road.
For whatever lies ahead. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this week's episode of Changing Lanes.
And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to our podcast to get all our future episodes.
And to dive deeper into all things BMW, head on over to bmw.com to learn more.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Changing Lanes.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.